Good morning, students of Insert Ironic Pop Culture Reference Here High. Just a reminder that tonight is Senior Prom. Make sure you have your dresses bought, your tuxedos rented, and your contraceptives on standby.
Hey Laura, do you have a date for the prom yet?
Ew. Don't be ridiculous. Prom is stupid anyways.
I'm going with Dreamy McFootball Man, the star quarterback.
What? Why?
His dad's a lawyer. We might need to retain him for the podcast. It's a miracle ABBA hasn't sued us yet.
I'm torn between a mean old head cheerleader who actually has heart of gold and that awkward girl in my art class who's always wearing glasses but probably looks totally different without them. Now that I think about it, they might be the same person.
You guys are such sellouts.
Why don't you just ask the British kid who just transferred here last week, even though it's the end of the school year?
Megan, we're not doing Grease 2 till next month.
Just ask him anyway, or you'll forever feel like a social outcast based on this one insignificant event nobody will remember in 5 years.
Fine. Hey, British kid.
Who, me?
No, Danny Radcliffe. Yes, you. Want to go to the prom with me tonight?
Prom? Really? I've never been to a real prom. I've only ever seen them on the telly before, in black and white, on one of the free channels we have back home.
Okay, shut up. Is that a yes?
It most definitely is. Will there be a live musical performance of some kind?
I think the school managed to book Smash Mouth.
Smash Mouth?
Yeah, I guess their schedule is pretty empty these days. They did that song for my favorite movie.
Can't Get Enough of You Baby from Can't Hardly Wait?
What? No. All-Star from Shrek. Wait, why is that vein in your temple throbbing like that?
Your favourite movie is Shrek?
Actually, it's Shrek Forever After. Hey, is that a levitating table? Ah! What the fuck?
Oh my god, the British kid has telekinesis and he's wrecking the place.
Watch out for that church organ!
Where did you even get that from?
Jesus! Smash Mouth were sound checking in the gymnasium and now they're on fire!
Hey now, you're an all-star.
This was a terrible idea.
High school is such bullshit.
So, earlier today, I saw Megan in person, in the flesh.
Yep.
And last week, me and Laura hung out and actually watched next week's movie for the show. But the one person that I haven't seen since this whole Panny D began is Roddy. Which leads me to wonder if Roddy is actually even real. And is Roddy actually just part of an AI construct? Does anybody remember Roddy being a real person before?
When you think about memories, you're just remembering, memories. You're not even remembering the points. So it could very much be that we were just remembering something false as a group.
Yeah.
Or maybe when we all got those little shots in our arms, they were actually implanting memories of Roddy into our minds so that we don't think that he's an AI construct.
Interesting.
And might I add, Roddy hasn't said a damn fucking word on this podcast yet, which leads me to believe he feels like we've rumbled him.
Oh no, I was just busy trying to think of what my backup plan, because he totally caught me. I'm actually from the future. You know, like that movie with Chris Pratt for the Tomorrow War?
Oh, Roddy's from the Tomorrow War. Oh no,
I knew it.
He's mediocre at best.
How dare you? It was well crafted, this plan to implant a chip where it's just nice memories of myself.
We thought you couldn't possibly be real. Nobody's that nice. Even in Canada. No.
Did any of you guys see Tomorrow War?
No.
Nah.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything.
Okay.
There's kind of like this weird trend at the minute of a lot of Paramount's movies getting dumped onto streaming services because Paramount doesn't have any confidence in them. Kind of feel like Tomorrow War was like the fucking epitome of that. It was just like a movie that they obviously spent a lot of money on and then kind of balked at the last minute to dump it straight onto Amazon.
Is that just the future now? Is that mediocre movies will just get huge budgets. But is that also the past? Because that kind of feels like, a recurring theme going on.
I mean, I kind of feel like dumping stuff on Netflix and Amazon is what stuff going straight to video used to be. So I don't know if when you guys had straight to video over here, it was generally stuff that was made to go to video, but there was like a trend in the UK. Because we used to get movies 6 months after North America, there was a trend of if a movie tanked in the US and Canada, it would usually just bypass theatres completely in the UK and just go straight to video. Like countless movies that were in theatres over here just were like video premieres in the UK. Even like well-known movies that are like kind of cult movies now, stuff like Office Space, never got a cinema release in the UK, just went straight to video.
I just imagine a chip now that it's planted to remind you of the plot lines of movies that you didn't really care about.
Yeah.
What's a movie that you've seen that you don't remember?
Iron Man 3.
Wow, that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, I know.
That's a lot of movies.
There's a movie called The Forsaken, which is some kind of desert set vampire road movie. And I definitely saw it in theaters and I remember nothing about it, including who is even in that film. I want to say Wes Bentley's in it, but I don't think he is.
Oh, this is so many movies. Just say a movie from the past and I can't remember things. Just like glimpse of it. The Phantom of Billy Zane. He's purple and he has a mask. Don't remember anything else. What else? Godzilla, the one with Matthew Broderick. All I remember is them like slipping on marbles. And like that's the scene I remember. And also Puff Daddy and his music video. But that doesn't really count because that's the music video, not the movie. My memory is really terrible.
Yeah, but the thing is, I remember more about that 98 Godzilla than I do about the one that came out like 6 years ago or whenever it was. The one with Aaron Taylor Johnson in it. I remember nothing about that movie, but I sure as shit remember Matthew Broderick and actress whose name I can't remember. Oh, Maria Pitillo running around Madison Square Garden, like running away from little Gadzuki fucking monsters. I remember nothing about that 2014 one.
I remember it being too much human, not enough Godzilla.
That may have been the problem.
And Listen, I will definitely understand that with Godzilla you need the humans, because other than that it would just be, giant monsters. But then he doesn't have to be giant, he could just be a monster. But too much human, that does not make it Godzilla movie. That gives it
exactly
disaster movie vibes.
When you're talking about human, I'm still flashing back if I'm really real.
Have I put a few seeds of doubt in your reality, Roddy? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just like, am I just like virtual Pinocchio where like even myself is implanted and I'm implanted with memories of myself that I exist? Thanks, Neth.
Roddy, let me give you some reassurance. Could be.
You know what? Fine. As long as I'm implanted into Keanu Reeves and he remembers me fondly, I think that's a life well implanted.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Just call
Amazing.
you Johnny Mnemonic. Welcome to Bad with Numbers, a podcast where we stave off dementia and try and remember the plots of movies we think we may have seen. No, wait. Welcome to Bad with Numbers, a podcast about terrible sequels. I am Neff, joined as always by Laura.
Hi.
Roddy.
Heyo.
And Megan.
Hey.
And this week on the show, we are talking about The Rage, Carrie 2 from the year 1999, directed by Katt Shea. This one was weird.
Not fond of casual intercuts of black and white telekinesis.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some weird stylistic choices in this movie for sure. Had you guys seen this before?
Yeah, I saw it way back when it first came out on video, I think.
Okay.
I think for me, this was one of the ones where like it was a family party, and like you know how you go to family parties and section of the house are like divided for like your age group. Mm-hmm. So like this one was with all the adults and the parents that were watching this movie, and I was like just playing games. So when I would come around, I just saw the ending. That's a really thing to walk upon as a kid, just the ending of Carrie. But the thing is, though, I feel like I think that's what most people want when they think of a Carrie movie, is just that ending. So then all of the other stuff beforehand is us to discuss.
Yep.
Sure. I don't remember when I first saw this movie. I know I definitely didn't see it in theaters because I think I actually deliberately avoided this one when it was in theaters because the reviews were kind of stinky on it. And I don't. But then again, it was 99. I was like going and seeing 3 movies a week at that point, so I must have like literally gone out of my way to not watch this one. I kind of feel like this was one that I saw on DVD in the mid 2000s, just like maybe as a random rental somewhere.
That's so much later. because like it came out in 1999, and I understand why people forgot it, because obviously that's the year that the only thing that people could talk about was The Mummy. But
Ha! Love it.
yeah. But no, I think it's just like the same thing. Like, I don't think anyone really was asking you for the sequel. Were you asking for the sequel?
I mean, look, this movie comes 23 years after the first movie. We'll get into it, but this is a movie whose target audience were not born when that original movie came out. I mean, I was 19 when this movie came out, so absolutely smack bang in the demographic for this one. I was not born when that fucking original movie came out. So, you know, I mean, I was aware of the original movie. I think I'd probably seen it by that point because I was kind of a big De Palma guy. But at the same time, like, most of my friends had not seen Carrie when this sequel came out.
I had seen the original Carrie when the sequel came out because I was a big Stephen King geek in high school. Wasn't there was a made-for-TV adaptation of Carrie that came out just a few years after this, if I'm not mistaken, like 2002.
And it starred the main girl from the movie May, which is an underrated little horror movie, a Lucky McKee movie. I can't remember the actress's name. I want to say Angela Bettis. I could be wrong. But anyway, yeah, they did that TV movie remake, and then they remade Carrie again in 2013 with Chloe Grace Moretz. Again, I don't remember that remake. I know I've seen it, but how faithful it was to the original, how faithful it was to the novel, couldn't say.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that one. I saw the 2002 one, and I was thoroughly underwhelmed and kind of pissed off at the time. I think it's like a miniseries or some shit.
Yeah, there was kind of a trend for doing these sort of Stephen King miniseries that had already been movies, because they did that Shining one in the late 90s, which apparently Stephen King likes a lot more than the Kubrick film, but he's wrong, might I fucking add, because the Kubrick film is like one of the best movies ever made. So what does that dude know?
The TV one was written by Bryan Fuller?
What?
Just on a side note, and I mentioned it on Twitter, but talking about Bryan Fuller, because Bryan Fuller did that Hannibal TV series, right? I had a couple of people ask me if we're going to do Hannibal, the 2001 movie, as an episode. So I rewatched Hannibal this week. Yeah, it ain't an episode. It's fucking dull, and nothing happens in that movie for the first hour and 20 minutes. We're going to give that one a miss. So let's do a mini episode on Hannibal now. Would I recommend it? Fuck no, that movie sucks. There you go. There's your episode.
Wow, great.
Cool.
Next week.
On next week's show. Okay. So The Rage Carrie 2 is directed by Katt Shea. This is the third film that we have done on this podcast directed by a woman, which means we are now officially better than the Academy Awards at recognizing female directors. I fucking hate the fact that the Academy Awards it took them over 80 years to recognize a female director as best director.
Yeah.
I hate that, but I do love the fact that the woman they gave it to was the fucking goddamn director of Point Break and Strange Days, which are like two of my favorite fucking movies of all time.
Yeah.
And the fact that the director of Point Break has an Academy Award for Best Director makes my heart sing every single fucking day.
Viewers and listeners that don't know, Neth really likes Point Break. Like, really.
I like Point Break to the fact that I have a full-size original Point Break movie poster in my dining room. I have a Point Break tattoo, for fuck's sake. Let's not get into that right now, but... Anyway, Katt Shea. She starts out as an actress in the early 80s. She's doing, like, bit parts in movies like Psycho 3. Possibly an episode. Kind of good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those Psycho sequels are actually pretty good. Anthony Perkins actually directed Psycho 3, by the way, which is kind of interesting. But anyway.
No way.
And she was in Scarface as well, which is directed by Brian De Palma, who directed the original Carrie. Also, one of my least favorite movies of all time. I fucking hate Scarface.
The 80s one.
Yeah, no, not the 30s one, the 30s one, the 80s one. Just can't stand that movie. Anyway, she decides acting isn't really scratching that creative itch, so she falls in with legendary producer Roger Corman and ends up making like a handful of kind of grindhousey style movies for him in the late 80s.
Cool.
Including something called Stripped to Kill, which I now have to see based on that title alone. Anyway, these movies end up getting her noticed by New Line Cinema, so they hire her to adapt and direct a pitch from a couple of producers, and that movie ends up being Poison Ivy. And for those of you that haven't seen it, Poison Ivy is a 1992 erotic thriller. It stars Sarah Gilbert from Roseanne, Darlene from Roseanne, love her, and Drew Barrymore as two high school friends. And Barrymore ends up seducing Gilbert's dad, played by Tom Skerritt from Alien and Space Camp, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then all hell breaks loose because Barrymore's character Ivy is a fucking psycho. She like pushes Gilbert's mom off a balcony and kills her and just goes full on fucking crazy. That movie was like a hot commodity when I was in high school. It was like a rite of passage to have seen Poison Ivy because it was kind of lumped in with stuff like Basic Instinct and all those other kind of like high gloss grotty movies at the time. Anyway, it's a cult classic nowadays, and guess what? It has 3 sequels. But at the time it was kind of an underperformer, and so Shea went back to working with Roger Corman for a while in the mid-90s. So here's the thing with this movie. This, as Megan said, this movie, A, was not originally meant to be directed by Katt Shea.
Yeah.
But also, B, this did not start out as a Carrie sequel when it was originally greenlit.
Oh, how does that happen?
Well, man, this is kind of the thing. Originally, this was a thing called The Curse, and it was actually based on a real-life high school sex scandal from 1993 involving a group known as, and oh god, I can't believe we have to talk about this, the Spur Posse, who were documenting their sexual assaults and statutory rapes with a points system.
And they weren't just scoring with chicks. Like, they were literally having sex with, like, not just slightly underage teenage girls, but, like, apparently, what, like, some of the accusations were from, like one girl was, like, 10 at the time or something. Like,
yeah, that was one of the charges levied against them, was lewd conduct involving a 10-year-old girl. And you know what? They got fucking charged with a bunch of sexual offenses, and the only one that fucking stuck was the one about the lewd conduct with a 10-year-old girl.
Yep.
The prosecutors on this case eventually dropped all of the charges, which is fucking ludicrous, and some of these assholes even graduated with honors.
And they did like a talk show. They went on a bunch of talk shows.
You know what they went on? They went on Jenny fucking Jones.
Not shocked.
A show that we talked about in our very first fucking episode of this podcast.
Yep.
Like, and these guys all went on to have fucking lives and whatever after this, except for one of them died in a gunfight, which, you know, big fucking loss there. And another did like 10 years eventually for burglary. I mean, these people, this happened in like a little town in California. These people are a fucking stain on society. Fuck them.
Yeah, the ultimate in the boys will be boys defense. You know, like, people were acting, oh, jocks racking up, you know, notches on their belts, so what else is new? Like, it's I'm like, that's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, their own parents defended them in that manner, saying, well, they're just red-blooded American teenagers. What the fuck?
Yeah, if they were supposedly they were intimidating, like, some from the accusations, they were intimidating them into it. It wasn't just, you know, they weren't just seducing women. I mean, that would be like, if it was all, well, I mean, it would still be statutory rape if they're having sex with underagers, but like. Absolutely. But apparently in that particular state, it's not a statute that was heavily enforced at the time.
Jesus. Anyway, okay.
Sorry.
Enough about those.
Fuck those guys.
Fucking monsters. Some genius at United Artists realizes that they own the rights to the first Carrie, which is, you know, an iconic movie by this point. Like you say, even if you haven't seen the movie, you know that shot of Sissy Spacek covered in fucking blood with fire all around her from the end of that film. So they retcon this script to make it a sequel to the 1976 film, which in retrospect is a really fucking stupid idea, because the weakest thing about this movie is all of the efforts to try and tie it into the first one.
Did they decide this before or after they started shooting it? Was the reshoots to tie it in with Carrie? That's what I'm curious about.
No, I think it started filming as a Carrie sequel, but certainly when it first went into development at United Artists, it was not a Carrie sequel.
I wonder what the original script looked like in terms of, instead of, because there's all these scenes where Sue Snell is trying just to impress upon, oh, you have this genetic thing, and you know, we need to stop things from happening or whatever. Like, I want to know like, instead of that, was there like a back, because you said it was called The Curse originally. Maybe it involved somebody telling her that she was cursed.
Maybe, I don't know.
I want to know. I want to know if there was a storyline like that, because if it was just straight up her, all the other stuff happening with no other mitigating factors, that'd be a pretty dark movie.
Sure. I mean, all of the fucking Carrie stuff that they retcon into this movie just feels like a square peg in a round hole.
A little bit.
None of it really seems to fit. So
Yep.
Anyway, like you say, the original director, Robert Mandel, quits a week into production. Robert Mandel, by the way, most famous movie, early Brendan Fraser movie, School Ties. That was one of his.
That was pretty good.
It's a good movie, School Ties. It's got like early doors Ben Affleck, early doors Matt Damon in that movie, Chris O'Donnell. I don't really care about him. But anyway, yeah, he quits like a week into production over creative differences. Ooh, I hate it when that happens. And United Artists quickly draft in Shea as his replacement. And therefore, that's what gives us The Rage, Carrie 2. This movie opened in theaters on March 12, 1999, where it debuted number 2 that weekend for a $7 million weekend, which is kind of underwhelming. Movie goes on to only make $17 million, which is, not good for a teen horror in the late 90s. That is compared to the $33 million that the original made 23 years earlier. And for inflation nerds, $33 million in 1976 would have been around $96 million in 1999 and about $157 million today. Sorry, this podcast is big with financial people. No, it's not.
I mean, that's fascinating to me, so that's what matters.
Elsewhere in the box office this weekend, at number 1, we have in its second week, Analyze This.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. That's a movie I don't remember.
Is that the sequel or the first one?
That's the first one.
That's the first one, okay.
I don't really like that first movie, and I haven't seen the sequel, but I imagine that sequel is probably an episode.
I watched a bit of the sequel once, and I was really fucking confused.
It seems like the kind of movie that should have played exclusively on airplanes. I don't know, I get that vibe from it. It feels very much like an airplane movie. Number 3 that weekend, another teen movie, Cruel Intentions.
Is that an iconic movie? Because I feel like it was a big deal for a lot of teenagers back then.
I think it became one. I think it was more of a rental sleeper hit kind of thing, right? I mean, had chicks making out in it, and it was probably a lot of teenage guys that were renting it when it came out.
I definitely saw Cruel Intentions in theaters. It was a big deal at the time. It wasn't a huge hit, but I think the combination of like the star power of Reese Witherspoon, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Ryan Felipe was a hot commodity at the time.
And then the song from The Verve. Is it The Verve?
Yeah, it had Bittersweet Symphony on the soundtrack. It actually had a pretty good soundtrack. It had like Skunk Anansie, Placebo all over that soundtrack.
Yeah.
I feel like that's your key to like a classic teen hit is you have like kind of like I guess a progressive story or just something that's trying something a little different and then a killer soundtrack. You know what? Maybe it's just a killer soundtrack that makes a good teen movie.
I mean, is it even really trying something different because it's just another retelling of Le Liaison Dangereux or Dangerous Liaisons or Valmont? Number 4 that weekend was The Corruptor, starring Chow Yun-fat and Mackie Mac. Anybody seen The Corruptor?
Haven't seen it.
No, it was one of the ones like just go watch Hard Boiled and all of other Chow Yun-fat's great films.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, Chow Yun-fat's like US output was not great compared to his Hong Kong output. I don't think. I kind of feel like he did that Replacement Killers movie with Mira Sorvino, which was kind of okay. And wasn't he in one of the fucking Pirates of the Caribbean movies?
Yeah, he was also in the Dragon Ball Z movie. So let's not think about his like
Hollywood. Why you do Chow Yun-fat dirty like that? He deserves better. Number 5 that weekend, Baby Geniuses.
I really remember liking that one. I was also 4, so.
I really remember liking babies with their mouths. Like, did they do the thing where they made their mouths move digitally? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Something like that. I have a vague recollection of seeing the ads.
I never saw it, but it has a sequel called Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2, which is rocking a mighty 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, is that? Oh, that's one of the 0%.
One of those mighty 0% you were talking about.
Might be an episode if anybody dares watch
I
it.
I think that goes in the same vein as Air Bud or those movies with the chimps. the
MVP.
MVP.
Most valuable primate.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like you're defending that title. It's like
Without giving too much away, we might be getting to one of those movies in the near future.
Excellent.
Anyway, that was the box office for The Rage Carrie 2. Let's get into this film, shall we? This movie opens with some religio mom dousing her house in red paint for some reason.
Yeah.
yeah, what is that reason? Like, is it just be like red is the sign of? I don't know. I was like redecorating.
Is it the cheapest paint?
Maybe. If you want to go fucking cinema language on it, it's probably just to establish red is obviously such a predominant color in the first movie.
Yep.
It's just to kind of line it up with that, maybe. Mm-hmm. But then she also manages to douse her kid's face in it because her little kiddie, young Rachel, says something to her and she just slaps this paintbrush into this kid's face. And it's kind of mean.
Rachel's like, let's go play or something. Why don't you come play with me? And the mom's across the face with the paintbrush.
And then literally in the very next scene, she's getting carted off in a straitjacket. That kid blatantly phoned child services in between.
Oh, no.
Yes.
My mom hit me with a paintbrush. Can you come and take her away?
Yeah, I had the same thought. I was like, wow, that escalated quickly.
And then we basically cut to grown-up Rachel, played by Emily Bergl. We'll get to her in a minute. But she's got this cute doggo. I think this is like a basset hound kind of dog.
Yeah.
And she lives with her adoptive parents, who are clearly scumbums because the dad is wearing a white t-shirt and he's very cranky.
I don't want to lose my $300 a month.
He's like, yeah, he's a real grumpy guts, this guy. This movie does cinematic language real good. Yep.
Remember at the end of the wrap-up episode that we did, somebody asked who our favorite dog is in a sequel? Mine's Walter.
Is the dog from this movie? He's a little cutie in this movie.
He's so sweet, and I'm really glad that Rachel loves him. I wouldn't say cares for him necessarily, but you could tell, like, she sneaks him in to sleep with her and everything, so she makes sure that he's okay. And when she runs to hide from her mom, then, she's cuddling with the dog too. I don't know. I vibe with Walter. I think he's cool.
Yeah, I like Walter, and I'm kind of not cool with this whole rule of not having the dog in your room at night, as somebody whose dog frequently sleeps at the bottom of his bed. Although as annoying as that can be to have a dog get up in the middle of the night and start digging in the bed for whatever reason, I would certainly never outlaw pets from being in bedrooms in my house.
Huskies are hilarious.
Yeah, I have a husky, for those that don't know, and he has foibles, let's say. But yeah.
For those that kind of don't know, so wait, cinema language is just basically a movie using familiarity with imagery to convey a certain... Okay, because that movie is, like you said, with the parents, to her friends, to her listening to Evanescence. I feel like there's like a cinema language that was throughout this film.
Yep.
So good.
Yeah.
It's a certain aesthetic.
Emily Bergl, the actress playing Rachel, I actually found out that she's from Milton Keynes in the UK. You guys probably don't know about Milton Keynes, but our UK listeners, I guarantee you know about Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes is what happens when, in the 1960s, they decide they want to build a new town somewhere in the UK, and they're going to model it on the North American model of building a town, which means it's all straight roads on a grid. There are like a billion fucking roundabouts, and it's very confusing to drive around. And also, as somebody that's been to Milton Keynes quite a few times, it's kind of shit. Sorry, Milton Keynes listeners, MK Dons, great team, but I did see REM there once, which is kind of cool, and Green Day. Not on the same bill, but apart from that, Milton Keynes not got a lot going on. Anyway, Emily Bergl, she's had like a pretty steady career after this movie. She's been in a lot of TV stuff. She was on stuff like Desperate Housewives. She was on Scandal. She even had like a recurring role in that Netflix Mindhunter show, but she never really kind of like blew up as a film actress after this movie, which I think is kind of a shame because she's pretty good in this film.
She is.
Doesn't she do like I feel like I was like Googling because I was like, oh, I recognize her. And because I remember her back in the Gilmore Girls where she plays the main girl, which is really ironic considering what the role she plays here. But when I was Googling her, she's like singing a lot. So I think she's also in Broadway theater. So I feel like she has like that healthy career of like getting that money through TV gigs, which is still good money, and then also Broadway career. So yeah, maybe not like the glitz and glamour of like the.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know she was a Broadway.
I think so. I don't know.
She's good in this movie. Probably better than everybody else in this film. I think she's maybe operating on like a slight level above, right? Anyway, she heads off to school where she gets on the bus and meets her best friend, Mena Suvari, as previously featured in our American Pie 2 episode. This must have been like a banner year for Mena Suvari, 1999.
Yep.
Because she's just getting laid in a lot of movies this year. She's literally just lost her virginity in this movie. Her and Chris Klein get it on in American Pie that year. American Beauty is also that year. Ew. What other movies beginning with the word American was she in that year? Was she in American History X? American Movie? Did she have a cameo in American Psycho? Anyway, regardless. She's playing a character called Lisa, not Heather. Lisa, let's get that clear. And she's basically saying how she's lost her virginity to another fucking returning star of this show, Zachery Bryan.
Yeah.
From Tokyo Drift and also previously of Home Improvement. He plays like a big square-headed douchebag in this. And it transpires that all his Jocko mates are like giving the girls scores out of 10 because teenage boys are fucking gross.
Yep.
Anyway, apparently him and Mena Suvari hooked up, so now I just feel bad for her.
Also, this movie made me all realize, too, that the guys in She's All That were also terrible people. Because they did the exact same thing, right?
I haven't seen She's All That in at least 20 years because I don't like that movie. But I'm going to say yes.
I mean, just in general, don't, like, put humans as your bets. Like, just don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe don't use women as commodities with your fucking friends.
We're not a prize.
Yeah, it's fucking grim. And yeah, I feel like it's based on a true story that is even more grim, but let's not fucking go back into that. We also get Jason London here, who clearly has some kind of crush on Rachel, because he keeps staring at her and then looking away and then staring back at her, and I'm watching him thinking, yeah, I knew that move in high school, my friend.
What is that? The look and stare? What is that? I don't know these moves. Your high school is different.
The kind of, I'm going to look at you until you catch my attention, then I'm going to deliberately look away and then glance back. That is a fucking move, unfortunately.
It's the mind games. It's the hunt. You gotta look for my gaze.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Pretty much it.
Nice.
And then also we get fucking Finch from American Pie here.
Yep.
I mean, are these guys just all like car sharing to movie sets in the late 90s? What the fuck? I am like amazed Freddie Prinze Jr. does not fucking rock up in this film at some point.
I kept laughing because I kept saying "shut up, shit brick" at the screen.
Yeah, he's kind of obnoxious in this one.
Yeah. Also, the actress who played in the Clueless TV shows in this movie as well.
Rachel Blanchard. Yeah, she was in Road Trip as well.
Yes, she was in Road Trip.
Anybody notice that all the girls in this movie have Jennifer Aniston hair, by the way?
Yes, and there's a proliferation of blue dresses, and it's all like this powder baby blue color. Like Rachel ends up having one. Later on, the other. Tracy has one, and then like when they go to the dance, there's like a bunch of other girls wearing dresses that are that exact color, and I was like, either this is a trend or some kind of cult.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess it was a trend. I don't know. I don't remember people wearing that.
Is it just because it contrasts with all the blood that is going to be shed at the end of this fucking film?
Maybe. It's just an ugly color in my opinion.
Weird shapes too.
I don't think I own any powder blue dresses.
We should go on a shopping spree.
Invest. Never know when you need it.
Mena Suvari finds out that she has been rated in this fucking awful book that Zachery Bryan and all his friends are keeping. And, you know, I get it. That's a fucking horrible thing to find out about. She decides that she's basically had enough of this already. And like 15 minutes into the movie, she throws herself off of the school roof after learning what a shitbag Zach Bryan and all his friends are. This death is brutal. She fucking hits the windshield of a parked car and it's kind of shot from inside the car. So we just like see her full on hitting that glass and that glass shattering.
And they reference it a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reaction that these kids have to this is questionable at best. Because a lot of them are just kind of standing around dumbstruck by it.
And that one asshole with the camcorder.
Yeah, what the fuck was his damage?
Fucking dude comes in with a camcorder and like, what are you going to do with that footage, man? You're not sending that to America's Funniest Home Videos. What the fuck are you actually going to do?
Yeah.
What's interesting about this movie is that like I really do wish that it didn't take the Carrie route, because there are horrors. There's a lot of horror just in like the human interaction, and not human interaction, what humans are capable. Because like we're talking about the guy that film corded, like this very triggering death. And what I'm remembering is like, hey, wasn't that YouTuber really recently, still fresh, went to Japan and literally just recorded.
Fucking Logan
so
Paul.
that's like the horror of this film is like that we say like, who does that? I'm like, you know what? That actually has happened in real life, and someone recorded it and put it on their YouTube for fans to see.
Yep.
And I felt like it never really explored or did justice to see. Like, how to phrase this? To put a viewer through that experience and then to just have it kind of be this Carrie ending, I feel like it wasn't worth it. For me.
Look, I totally agree with you, because I think the telekinesis and all of the supernatural elements of this movie are far and away the least scary part of this film.
Absolutely.
The terrifying shit in this movie is high school boys, jock mentality. All of that stuff in this movie is horrific and terrifying.
Yeah.
And all of the telekinesis stuff just feels fucking tacked on.
I mean, it has a similar synthesis to Carrie in that it incites a sort of like anger in the audience, like at the injustice of it, and then at the end, she's it gets pretty horrific at the end, and it's like, oh. But there's a part of you that's like, well, I don't feel entirely sorry for these people, even though you're like, no, they're 100%. Being horrifically murdered.
Sure.
What is wrong with me?
But isn't the hook of the first Carrie that a lot of the torment and bullying is being carried out by other girls, and it's therefore like a more internalized misogyny kind of thing? Whereas here it's just fucking straight up men are fucking awful, right? It's
the first one, she gets mistreated by her classmates, and it's other girls, but the gym teacher takes them to task and punishes these girls, which is interesting. Sure. They actually get punished. And by the end of the movie, when by the time Carrie goes to prom, most of the girls have already forgotten about it, except for like that one girl and that guy. Like they just a small group of them plan this revenge plot. And then like, that's why the original movie is so tragic, because she goes to the prom and is actually enjoying herself. People are being nice to her, and then somebody dumps pig's blood on her, and she goes completely loco and takes out her anger on all these people that are like, the fuck is happening? Like a lot of people that had absolutely nothing to do with it whatsoever. It was, the trigger point came from just like these two individuals essentially.
And speaking of that scene, at this point in the rage, enter Sue Snell.
Yep.
Who is a survivor from the first movie, played by Amy Irving. She's now a guidance counselor at this school, I think. Did you guys have guidance counselors in high school?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, this is not a thing that we had in the UK. You know what? You got problems at home? Tough fucking shit. You deal with that outside of school hours. You don't bring that into school with you. That was kind of the fucking stance that certainly the high schools I went to had. So explain to me, as a foreign fucking idiot, what is the purpose of a guidance counselor?
It's kind of like HR, but for high school. So it's dealing with...
That's perfect.
It's dealing with, like relationships between classmates, bad behavior in school, career guidance, things like bullying. But like, I think it has more... this is probably really cynical, but in some cases it probably has more to do with the high school covering its ass legally than anything else.
Yeah, because I am biased, because like even for me, like I feel like at my worst times in high school, like just like emotionally with whatever's dealing with my life, the guidance counselor just made it worse.
Yeah.
Okay, so movies are kind of right, because anytime I've seen a guidance counselor portrayed in a movie, They've always been like a completely fucking ineffective schmuck that really doesn't really know what their fucking job is supposed to be.
I mean, I guess I lucked out, but I went to an arts high school, and only once, and she was my English teacher as well, so I think that because she had that bridge into understanding who we all were and what we were supposed to be like, when I went and I met with her and I just said, hey, something's up, she's like, yeah, you know what, I know. You haven't been, putting out your homework properly, you haven't been whatever.
See, that's what it should be, because the thing is, though, like, I love to hear stories about that, because it shows, like, because I feel like we need to see more positive stories about high school, because, like, again, so to not say that this is our only story of, like, terribleness. But yeah, like, I wish there were more of that, because I think when I was in high school, like, it honestly felt like this was just a person just trying to get by. They could care less. Like, they're just more about following the rules and abiding by the principle and what they want, rather than sitting down, listening to what a student says, even if it might not go with, like, what the rules are, because, like, I don't know, like, Catholic school rules are stupid.
I mean, the other thing is that some girl was trying to go around on Twitter and saying she was going to fight people, and at the time I wasn't, in her good books, so I went to the guidance counselor and I just said, hey, listen, I want you to know that this is going around, and if something happens, I want it on the record that I was defending myself, like, I'm not going out. And she said, okay, well, I kind of have to say something about this, and I kind of wanted her not to, because I was just going, to say, hey, I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, wasn't me. And she actually actively did something.
We already established you went to school in a prison, so
it's true. So I stabbed them. No, with my shiv spoon that I grated on brick for some reason.
Yeah, man, we already know your high school days were a fucking liability.
But yeah, no, she actually was able to say something. And I mean, of course, high school girls, the girl gave me some two-faced, like, oh, I'm sorry if you were offended bullshit. And it's, I see. But it didn't explode, which was nice.
And now she listens to this show.
Right. If she does, that's some tea.
Like, again, like Neth is saying, like, that stuff is the scariest shit. Like, the two-facedness. like that's why, like, what's it called? Going, like, way back to, like, Buffy or whatnot, like, hell is high school. I feel like that is, like, this metaphor that people can relate to.
I'm so glad that the internet was barely a thing when I was in high school, because...
Yeah, same.
Cyberbullying. I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that.
Sure. And as somebody that's like raised a child that has been, had the internet in her life pretty much for the entirety of her life, I've seen that shit firsthand, and it is fucking brutal.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we just didn't have guidance counselors. If we had a problem, figure it the fuck out. It's weird that was something that school, I mean, I don't know if schools in the UK have it now. I mean, I'm talking like fucking 25 years ago nearly, we're talking now, so, but certainly in the 90s that was not a fucking thing at British schools.
I guess why it's a bit jumping ahead, but I guess how I kind of feel about this movie is that, I don't know, like, it's the one where, like, I didn't want to see it, where it's like that story where it's like someone is getting hurt and, like, abused, and in the end it's sad and it's tragic, and it's one of the ones where, like, it's that story that is always told, and there's a point where, like, I want to say something else because it makes me feel that is the only, like, path that it's just going to be tragic.
And I think part of that is down to the fact that Sue Snell is just completely ineffective as a guidance counselor. She's fucking useless in this movie.
Yeah.
But also, this school has bad pastoral care because one of their students literally kills herself during school time, and they don't even get, like, the rest of the day off to process that.
Yeah.
They get, like, one fucking announcement on the tannoy. I mean, that's just bad form, right?
Is it just American schools? Because, like, when I think to America and I think of their healthcare and I think of all the things like maternity leave and everything like that, I was like, is that just on par? Is that literally just how it is to be, like, an American student?
That's so sad.
Maybe they're just drilling it into them early. Yeah. Anyway, we find out Rachel works at a drive-through photo processing booth.
Yep.
This is also a new thing to me. Drive-through photo processing? What?
Nope, I had not heard of that.
Yeah, that was a I mean, it wasn't a thing in my town, but it's a thing I was aware of.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
No, like when I was growing up, you had to take those photos to the pharmacist and stare intently at the pharmacist and never break eye contact with them so you could see if they were judging what you had on your fucking photos. You kind of made like an unspoken pact with the pharmacist that, oh, you've seen my personal shit now, my friend.
Yeah, the teachers went through Lisa's locker, and they found like a roll of film and a letter detailing what happened, because she mentions losing her virginity to this guy and she thought that he loved her and blah blah blah.
Sure.
Yeah, so the photo roll gets sent to the hut that Rachel works at, which seems like a bit of an oversight. And I think they also interviewed Rachel right afterwards as well.
Oh yeah, the police dealing with this thing, by the way, also fucking useless.
Yeah.
They say to this cop that it's probably statutory rape.
Yeah.
And he calls it a stretch.
Yeah, he was like, that's a stretch. And I'm like,
fuck this guy.
How is it a stretch? It's either statutory rape or it's not. It's a statute. It has a standard age of consent. Either it's statutory rape or it's not. There's no stretch.
We find out that Rachel's mom is currently a resident of Arkham Asylum.
Yep.
She locked up in there with a penguin. Y'all got Killer Croc doing some time in there. Got a Joker running the holes in that joint. And if you're listening at home or in the car, or you're taking a shit right now, and you're sitting there going, actually, Neff, the Arkham from Batman is a reference to H.P. Lovecraft, then yeah, I know that, nerds. But you know what? H.P. Lovecraft was a fucking racist, so fuck that guy. I'll just keep it Batman, okay?
We were debating that when we were watching it, whether or not that was a Batman reference or a Lovecraft reference.
I think it's probably more a Lovecraft
reference.
I
mean, Lovecraft, horror stories that take place in New England, Stephen King, horror stories that take place in New England.
Sure. Although this movie does not take place in New England, right? This
I don't
is
think
blatantly California.
Yeah, it looks like it looks like California,
yeah. Yeah, Sue Snell, she fucking sucks in this movie. She brings Rachel in to talk to her. Mm-hmm. And look, Rachel has telekinesis, yeah? We find out later in the movie through a very ham-fisted bit of investigation that Rachel and Carrie White share the same father. Mm-hmm. That's the fucking threadbare tie between these two characters. But Sue Snell, she's like interviewing Rachel, and then the fucking, I think it's the coffee mug.
Yeah.
Just moves across the table. You know what? If you witnessed a gymnasium full of your peers get barbecued alive and you see a coffee mug moving of its own volition, guess what? You're red flagging that shit right away. You're not sitting on that and waiting to see what happens next.
Or having a PTSD flashback. Like, oh God.
They shoehorn in a lot of footage from the original movie into this one. Apparently Sissy Spacek did not initially let them do that. She said that you cannot use my image in this movie, but Katt Shea actually convinced her to let them use it in the end. But yeah, I don't know, I kind of feel like Sissy Spacek might have been in the right there.
She turned down an offer to cameo, but gave permission to use the scenes as flashbacks. From what I read somewhere, that basically Katt Shea edited those sequences together and then sent them to Sissy Spacek and got her approval for them.
Sure, I mean, look, at this point in her career, Sissy Spacek does not need to be doing fucking Carrie 2, right? I mean, she was like...
Yeah.
She was in The Bedroom a few years after this. I'm pretty sure she got an Oscar nomination for that one. Fucking great movie if you've never seen it. Anyway, we cut to the fucking football coach basically preparing all these Jocko boys for their big game.
Oh, yeah.
He makes this kid take his fucking pants down in the middle of the class.
Yeah.
To humiliate him.
Yep.
The fuck is this?
That was chilling and also probably accurate to how things like that happen.
No, yeah, I had the same vibes. Like, that's again, like the horror aspects are those moments. Because watching that was like, it was hard to watch.
Is this like the fucking coach from that Penn State fucking team that ended up going to jail?
That's what it reminded me of.
You know what, coach? If you do that to a child, guess what? You're going to fucking prison. Yeah, like Roddy said, they keep cutting to these fucking black and white shots for like no real reason.
It's a weird stylistic choice.
Yeah. Occasionally this movie just lapses into like doing bad De Palma impressions with like the gyrating cameras and the whip pans and all that stuff. I just kind of feel like, again, if it was just detached from being anything to do with the first Carrie, it's a better fucking movie. Anyway, these dum-dums try and scare Rachel by harassing her in her home, and she ends up like dropping a window on Zachery Bryan's pudgy little fingers. I mean, she should be dropping a fucking house on this guy's head, not a fucking window pane, but whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Jason London, we should probably talk about this dude playing the love interest here. He's kind of a fucking blank in this movie, right? He's like really bland here.
Yep.
He's in Dazed and Confused. He like plays the lead character in that movie, but he's surrounded by like such an eclectic cast in that movie. You know, you've got like Rory Cochrane, Matthew McConaughey all being like crazy characters in that film. That his blandness actually kind of works in his favor in that one. He's kind of like the reasonable center in amongst like a bunch of wacky cohorts. But here he is just like Chris Klein level of fucking blank, right? He's a non-entity in this one.
Yeah, he is kind of like Chris Klein. He's exactly like Chris Klein, because he's like the quintessential like the good guy jock. You know, the jock that's in with the jocks, but also a nicer dude.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Such a cliche.
I mean, Jason London, he's got a twin brother, Jeremy London, and Jeremy London is the one that was in Mallrats, right?
Yep.
He also claimed that he was kidnapped in 2011, which apparently was not true. And
What?
yeah, both of those guys have got pretty shady fucking reputations in this day and age, so let's not waste too much time talking about them. But yeah, so Sue Snell does some like top-notch detective work. She goes to visit Carrie's mom. Sorry, not Carrie's mom, Rachel's mom. She basically goes to visit the mom in the asylum. And the mom just basically outs and tells her that it was fucking the guy that was Carrie White's dad who's also Rachel's dad. She just blurts it out.
Yeah.
There's no like legwork done by Sue Snell to find this out. It's just like handed to her on a fucking plate, right? So Sue Snell takes Rachel to the school that burnt down 23 years ago. This place is still fucking standing. Like, after everybody died there, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I thought that was funny. A, it looks like a burnt out factory, which is what it is. And B, why the fuck would they just leave it there? That's so weird.
Yeah, they just built a new one.
There isn't even a plaque or anything. Like, they could at least put up a plaque and be like, this is the site of where a bunch of teens tragically burned to death. But no, there was supposed to be, I read somewhere that was supposed to be a shot where Rachel kicks a burnt bucket.
What?
Really?
And they were like, nah. They're like, we're not going to include that after all.
Good choice.
It's like, ooh, that would be kind of dark.
Yeah, but also that would have totally fucking stretched the credibility of this even further, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, like, all these fucking football guys shave their heads to, like, intimidate the opposition. But guys, aren't you all wearing helmets?
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't get that either. Nobody in the audience is going to notice it until the end when they take their fucking helmets off. And then everybody's going to be like, ugh.
You could be wearing a fancy assortment of toupees under those fucking helmets and it ain't gonna make a jot of difference.
As someone who just shaved my head 2 weeks ago.
And rocking what I keep saying is a very cool tank girl look with it, might I add.
Thank you. It makes me feel tougher. However, my best friend shaved my head and I do not feel any more of a camaraderie with her now than I did before. And I still love her terribly, but that did not bring us closer. Although she did fix, because Cohen was the one who started it, so she fixed all of the mistakes. So that was great. I appreciate that.
As somebody that's been kind of cutting their hair pretty tight for the last fucking 20 years of my own back, I think I've been to a barbershop twice in the last 20 years. How do you fuck up shaving a head? It's like literally it just all comes off.
I don't know, I had this weird halo around the top of my head, so I almost looked like one of those kappas from Japanese lore.
I was going to say, you had like a monk cut maybe going on.
A little bit, yes. So it was interesting to see just the little, loop around the top of my head where it was longer than the actual top of my head.
But yeah, these guys doing it is just a completely futile exercise, but sure, whatever. Sue Snell busts Rachel's mom out of the asylum to a really funky fucking drop on the soundtrack, by the way, which is completely out of place. There's just like this literally 10 seconds of like wah-wah guitar at this point, and it just feels like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, worst heist ever. What the fuck?
Gum on the fucking lock of the door. What the hell, lady?
Yeah.
They're rolling around town, and the crazy mom looks out the window and starts talking to some imaginary guy.
Yeah.
But then it cuts back to the same shot where she saw this guy, and then out of nowhere there's suddenly a stop sign in this frame that was not there. I went back and checked. This stop sign is not in the first fucking frame when she's talking to this person. Made me think, was she actually talking to the stop sign all along? Are we now seeing things that are not really there? Is it us, the audience, who are really the crazy ones? I mean, we're watching fucking Carrie too, so probably, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is after Rachel goes on a date with What's-His-Face, because he asks her out by saying, just say yes, and blocking her way in the hallway, which is super fucking rude.
Yeah, I don't like this pushy fucking nature this guy has with this lady. It's not cool.
And then after she's dating him, the other girl that wanted to date him starts getting her panties in a knot, and then her friend, who's played by the Rachel Blanchard, Monica, decides to pretend to be Rachel's friend by helping her steal lipstick from a department store or something.
Sure, and look, I've seen the first Carrie. I knew that this should have been coming, right? I knew that this was fake, but I kind of believed that these two were actually going to be friends for a little part of this movie. I was kind of like, this is nice. Maybe they are going to be friends. Maybe like Rachel Blanchard character is not going to be a shit to her at the end of this fucking film, but unfortunately it doesn't play out that way.
Do you think that's because it has to be a Carrie film? Because like, if it didn't have to be that Carrie film, it didn't have to have the ending of the Carrie. It could have gone much more interesting directions of how students tackle bullying and how, we'll get to the ending, but I think it was a poor choice to have it at a house party.
I'll also point out that these guys have been harassing Rachel because they're worried about what she's going to say about the thing that happened with Lisa. But by the time they start harassing her, like, the police have already seen the letter.
Yeah, that's right.
They've already seen the photograph. They've already gotten Rachel's testimony, and yet these dudes keep harassing Rachel to protect their boy or something. And it's like, do you guys even realize that it's too fucking late for that? And also, he's already...
Yeah, it's totally out of her...
Yeah, and even...
It's out of her hands.
Yeah, and there's even this scene where it's got, like, the parents and also the, I think, DA, and they're like, oh, it's not about evidence, it's about elections. So, like, they've already gotten off. By halfway through the movie, these guys are already off the hook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the fuck their problem is with Rachel at that point. Well, then it kind of shifts, I guess, to being about Tracy's problem with Rachel. It's kind of cross purposes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right. Sorry, I had a thought and it went. It's fine.
That's okay.
But no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we get to this climatic party scene at this fucking insane house with all these huge bloody windows, and Finch from American Pie. I mean, I keep calling him Finch. We should say Eddie K. Thomas, but, you know, he's Finch from American Pie, whatever.
Yes.
Him and his buddies are all, like, hanging around outside, trying to get in. They're kind of like the fucking dipshit kids and Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do you want to get in there so badly, guy? You're either just going to get your ass kicked, or worse, they're just going to laugh at you. Go start your own party. You'll have way more fun, and it probably won't leave, like, lasting social anxiety scars all over your psyche, right? I've never understood why this compulsion of people to try and get into parties of people that they are not socially mixing with.
Yeah, I would be terrified to do that, to be honest. I would not want to. I was constantly paranoid of walking into spaces where I wasn't wanted in high school.
Is it kind of like have you ever had it? It's more elementary, but like someone's having a party and then they're sending out the invites in the classroom and you're like, well, I'm clearly not invited to this, but I'll watch as they go to other people to give the invites.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, is it that case, or maybe it's like,
Jesus, did that happen? That never happened to me. No, and I'm not talking about, I know I never got not invited. I'm sure there was plenty of parties I wasn't invited to, but I don't remember ever seeing people handing out invites in class in front of their classmates.
Paper invites. Who does paper invites, really? It would be phone calls, word of mouth, and, I don't know, passing notes during math class or something.
Roddy, I think you went to school with a bunch of assholes.
Well, I'm just trying to get a frame of mind. No, I'm trying to get a frame of mind of like where like they're coming from. It's more of like looking at like the mentality of like the pressure of being invited to like the cool kids, and like I feel like these are all things that this movie was trying to explore, even with that one character. But again, it's like it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
That seems like a power move for a 10-year-old to be pulling to invite and not invite people. Wow. Yeah.
My mom always told me that if I wasn't inviting everyone, that I had to invite everybody separately.
Yeah, do it with a bit of discretion, yeah? Do it like at break time or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
You've seen all the memes, you've seen all the stories. Like you just go on Instagram and be like, oh, this person, or it's the opposite, where like they invited everyone and then no one shows up. It's like...
Mm-hmm. Oh, I had that one.
Yeah.
See, these things just happen. And again, it's like...
I was the one who showed up, nobody showed up to my party. Sorry, I want to make that clear.
Okay. But good on you for showing up, right?
Thank you.
What did you do? What happened? I want to know what happened.
So it was it was in like grade 3, so I was 8 or so, I guess, at the time, and it was a boy that I had a crush on, so I went, but he was kind of a dickhead, so he was a bully to the rest of the kids.
Oh.
So I went with him. It was the middle of January because it was a couple of days before my birthday, so I was like, okay, cool. 2 parties. But I remember I got him a Bionicle for his birthday, and I asked if he wanted help building it, and he said I was too stupid to help him. And I was like, cool.
Do you know what? This story started with me feeling sorry for this kid, but now that you've kind of elaborated, fuck that kid. Go build your own fucking Bionicle.
Some dudes just can't take a hint.
I kind of understand it, and now that I'm 26... I forget.
Now that you're 26, you're thinking, I'm going to go get that fucking Bionicle back and build it myself.
I'm going to get my own Bionicle. I will do it myself. Go fuck yourself, bro.
Yeah.
Heated.
So, anyway, Rachel finds out that these dickbags have all been scoring these girls that they sleep with. And she finds out that poor old Mena Suvari only got like 4 out of 10 from this shithead. And, oh, what a surprise. There's also like a film of her and Jason London having sex, and it gets blasted on the video wall of this party.
Who at that party really wants to fucking see that? Like, even the worst people, would you really want to watch that at a party? Like, somebody else's...
It just made me think of Problem Child 2, the bit where he blasts the babysitter and her boyfriend getting on. It's just like, who the fuck is actually coming out to watch this?
I mean, people all independently downloading it off the internet. I mean, there's a lot of fucking people who would do that. Cause
I mean, sure, revenge porn is a fucking
people
thing.
are way too fucking curious, but like at the same, like watching it in a group, like a group watch of somebody else's sex tape during a part, it just seems a little...
What's the second feature on this bill? Is it the fucking footage of Mena Suvari, like, dead on top of a fucking car? It's like...
what are they gonna, like, what were these guys expecting, an orgy? Like, what were they expecting? Like, it's just kind of awkward. Like, it's an awkward thing to show at a party.
It was just really sad because they're all dancing with her, and I guess she's thinking as though, oh, cool, you know, the boy I'm seeing talked to them, and they're coming around, they're going to apologize. And, you know, she's having a great time, and then all of a sudden that comes on, and it just goes to show how shitty teenagers can be, for sure. But it was just, I don't know, I was feeling good for her, and now I'm feeling very sad, and I'm glad for what happens next.
And also the house is fucking massive. It's a mansion.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
Mansion. It's huge.
Yeah, it's the perfect setting for what we get next. And whoa mama, here comes the fucking payday of this movie, the bit that everybody paid for their fucking ticket for. Rachel goes into full-blown meltdown mode, and this film kicks into high gear here. She locks this place down like Guantanamo, and these tattoos like start fucking spreading all over her body. These vines are like wrapping all over her body. You know what? Actually pretty half decent CGI on this. It actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's my favorite effect from the entire movie is that.
Yeah, it looks cool. And she goes bananas. People are getting fucking shattered glass thrust into their necks, and there's blood splurting everywhere. Sue Snell rocks up to this party with the mother,
Oh, man.
knocks at the door, and she gets hardcore impaled by a poker that Rachel has launched into the air. So, bye-bye, Sue Snell. You were fucking useless in this movie. Kind of glad to see you go out in such a fucking indignant style.
Didn't it go through the one guy and then go
It
through
does.
the door and hit
It
her?
literally impales a dude on the door and then gets Sue Snell on the other side. The very definition of a twofer right there.
Sue Snell has dragged the schizophrenic mom there. And the glass shattering thing, it was actual glass that was actually shattered, and it took them a few takes to get what they needed for that, and the actress ended up with a bunch of lacerations.
Yeah, I read this. They couldn't shoot any more shots of her back after after they shot that scene, because she was like literally covered in cuts from actual exploding glass.
That's
terrible.
Yeah, that seems kind of reckless movie. Not cool. She's like fucking throwing CDs around like that Cenobite in Hellraiser 3. Like people are getting fucking CDs in their faces.
Yeah.
She like sends a fucking flaming log right into the fucking drinks cabinet just to create like a raging inferno in this place. People are burning alive, and all the while I'm like cheering this girl on because fuck these assholes. This is nothing less than they deserve.
Also, Shitbrick is down the street getting trashed while sitting on his car, and he was like, that must have been some killer party.
Yeah, you know what I didn't need is fucking quippy little lines from Eddie K. Thomas at this point.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. She fucking makes Rachel Blanchard's glasses explode.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
they shatter in her eyes. And
Yeah.
it's fucking gross, but also pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and then, like, takes the dick off of the guy right beside her because she has a harpoon for some reason.
Fucking harpooned right in the taint. It's just like, what the fuck? And then we get what I think personally is the most gruesome fucking part of this movie. Rachel takes a flare to the tummy and basically falls in the pool.
Yeah.
And the pool cover starts fucking closing.
Yeah.
This is like up there on the worst ways to die list, right? Like being stuck under a fucking pool cover. She grabs like the main antagonist from this film and drags him into that fucking pool. She manages to get out, but he does not.
Yeah, he gets stuck.
You know what?
Fine.
The camera does not cut away on this guy drowning.
Yeah.
And the literal light going out in this fucking dude's eyes is like, this guy deserves nothing less. He's a shitbag. But at the same time,
haunting.
This pool death is brutal. I remember when this movie came out. I like I say, I didn't see it. I know some of my friends went to see it, and I just remember all they talked about is this fucking dude drowning because it is fucking harsh.
Yeah. The whole movie's very harsh. And then her mom finally turns up.
Oh my god.
And starts babbling about her being the devil. Or having the devil in her.
And she just leaves, right? Because it took me a while.
Yeah, Roddy's right. The mom just fucks off, right? Nothing happens to the mom. She doesn't die.
She just pieces out, and I'm like, what happened? That was like a loose thread.
I don't remember.
Yeah, because she's like, you're not my child, you're not my baby, and then she's, Mama, don't leave me.
Again, it's one of the ones where, like, that is something that should be really emotional, and it's, like, thrown away for the sake of this, like, big, epic, what everybody paid to see, and I'm like, ugh.
The whole relationship with the mom is not paid off in this movie at all. Rachel goes inside and Jason London shows up, and then she starts using her telekinesis powers to become a video editor because she keeps replaying the same scene of him saying I love you as they're asleep.
Also, that's not how audio works either.
True. And also manages to somehow keep zooming in on him every time she replays it, which I'm just thinking, okay, what is like Adobe fucking Premiere part of her fucking telekinesis skills?
Yeah.
So she basically ends up saving his fucking lame ass because this ceiling is like collapsing all around them, and she ends up getting fucking squished as the building just turns into a raging inferno.
Yeah, he gets there late because Tracy basically deliberately sidetracked him to her place and then tried to seduce him wearing a blue dress.
Yeah. There's that blue dress motif.
Yeah, and that's why he ends up showing up late. Something falls on Tracy. Like, he sees Rachel, and then something falls on Tracy, and then he stops momentarily to try to help Tracy.
Oh yeah, that's right. He could have totally saved her life, but he kind of like fucking never bothers and just goes to confront Rachel instead. So yeah, the way she actually saves him is she like uses her telekinesis to yeet him into the fucking pool, which is kind of cool. He just like goes fucking flip-flopping through the air. It's pretty funny. And then the house just collapses around her, and bam, that's the fucking end of Rachel, I guess.
This is a complete side note, but I've never heard Ness say yeet, and there was just
No?
a weird feeling.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard him say
No,
yeet.
I feel like
it
we've heard of
many
saying
times throughout this podcast.
I guess for me, it's just always just.
Hey,
feels-
Roddy, thanks for listening, man.
I'm sorry. And maybe it's just more of like just hearing the word yeet.
It's, you know what, I think
I'm still getting used to it.
Laura actually introduced me to that word, and I think it's actually one of my favorite words to use now. It's just
Aw.
such a great word.
It's permeated its way through this podcast because
Yeah.
I use it on occasionally now.
I'm so sorry.
I think it first surfaced on our Blade Trinity episode, possibly, when you said about her
Yeah.
yeeting the baby off the fucking
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's
Oh,
to tie it
God.
back. Maybe it was just a glitch in the implant, and I just totally forgot.
The
Yeah,
fucking
that-
the
there it
AI is starting to fucking glitch out. Somebody needs to reboot Roddy.
Yeah.
To go, but the thing is, though, when you were watching this and seeing this ending with Carrie, like, did you kind of think back to like any like if it feels like a trope, or it feels like something that's well used, where if there is a woman and she has superpowers, she somehow has to control these powers or risk dying or killing everyone? Like, was it in Game of Thrones this happened, and then also with Jean Grey this happened? And like it's
yeah.
like one of the things where it's just like that's why I was so disappointed when she died. I was like, well, really, this is how we're gonna end it, where she just dies?
Yeah, it's the trope of the abused person acquiring powers and then struggling to use them in the face of their own like anger and trauma kind of thing, you know.
Sure, it's almost like a kind of Pandora's box kind of
Yeah,
thing. Like, you know,
it's-
once you let it out of the box, you can't put it back in.
Yeah.
But Roddy, that's not how this movie ends, because
Oh yeah.
we cut to, I think it's 6 months later or whatever, and Jason London is now at university. It kind of sucks that he has somehow inherited this dog, undeserved.
No.
He does not get to have Walter.
Nuts.
Yeah.
You know what? I liked the fact that they had Jesse with Walter, because my first thought when Rachel died was, oh my god, who's gonna look after Walter now? He has the cone of shame. He's just been hit by a car. Like, who is gonna take after him? So as soon as I saw that Jesse has him on the bed, I was like, wow, Jesse's the best guy ever, because clearly the parents were going to take him.
I changed my stance. If he'd have stayed with those fucking dipshit foster parents, he would have been basically shut in a fucking coal shed or something.
Yeah, so now he's got a comfy bed in a university with some guy who is getting his bread. Like, I'm ready for it.
Just on that note, you can take your dog to university.
I don't think you
think
can.
you
Yeah, I wondered about that too. I was like, is he allowed to have a dog in there?
Well, that's why he said, like, shh, you're gonna get
Oh,
us kicked
yeah,
out of
that's
here.
right.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I
fair
need to remember. Was it in? Because you didn't full on explain it, right? Wasn't it a dream? So is the dog the dream?
No,
Or
the
what?
dog's
No.
No, the dog is
I think the
there.
dog is supposed to be real, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah, the dog is
yeah.
actually there because of the...
we basically here we get this fucking absolutely half-assed attempt to mimic one of the greatest jump scares in cinema. And from the first movie, you know, the movie ends with the inferno in the school, and then it cuts to later on, Sue Snell goes to Carrie White's grave, and then like the last shot of that movie is fucking this hand shooting up out of the grave and grabbing Sue Snell, and then she wakes up screaming or whatever. I remember specifically what the last shot is, but anyway, one of the best jump scares in cinema. They try and kind of replicate it here because he's Jason London is kind of like, you know, lamenting the loss of Rachel to himself in the mirror, and then we see these feet appear through the window of the dorm room and enter Rachel, a kind of ethereal presence of Rachel, and she kind of like walks up to Jason London and they start making out, and you're kind of thinking, oh, oh, maybe she didn't fucking die. Maybe, you know, this is a happy ending to this movie. But no, oopsie daisy, she's a fucking ghost. She's not really there. And just as they're Frenching, she kind of like fucking steps back and turns into stone and shatters. She lets out this horrible shriek and then just like shatters and disappears. And then he wakes up and boom, that's the end of the fucking movie. I mean, it kind of works, but it's not a satisfying payoff. I mean, look, we get it tucked away in the fucking credits, but it says based on characters created by Stephen King.
Yeah.
Look, we could do an entire other podcast about Stephen King adaptations. I'm of the belief that Stephen King's non-horror adaptations are always stronger than his actual horror adaptations. Not many of his horror adaptations, I think, are particularly great movies, with the exception of The Shining, but that deviates so far from the original novel that...
See, I really like The Mist, though.
Okay, the Mist is definitely one that does work. I think The Mist is a cool movie. With such a fucking bummer of an ending as well, but
iconic. It's a well-known ending.
Oh, absolutely. But I generally think like things like Pet Sematary, you know, the TV movies that they did of things like Tommyknockers, I don't think they work as well. Whereas like his non-horror stuff like Shawshank Redemption, Stand By Me, even maybe Green Mile are just like legitimately fucking good bits of cinema, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of feel like this Stephen King probably wasn't a fan of this, right?
I don't know. I would love to know what he thought of this movie.
Yeah, maybe. But then again, you know, he prefers the TV movie of The Shining over the Kubrick movie, so maybe he fucking thinks this is the best thing since sliced bread. I don't know. And also on the credits, by the way, we get assistant to Amy Irving, Max Spielberg. So I guess this was the job that got him on the career ladder that led to him directing Jaws 19. Amy Irving was married to Steven Spielberg for like 4 years in the 80s, and they had a son together. She got $100 million in that divorce, might I add.
Ouch.
Savvy fucking lawyer.
Yeah.
Apparently, the story goes that they had a prenuptial, but it was written on a napkin. So the judge in the divorce case completely dismissed it and fucking gave her half of Spielberg's money.
They were like, nope.
Yeah. And hey, that's fucking Carrie 2, The Rage. Would you guys recommend this movie?
I don't know. It's kind of intense. Not because it's a bad sequel, but because it contains a lot of intense material that some people might find hard to watch.
Okay, so really quickly, I just saw on the Wikipedia that Stephen King has rated it as acceptable.
Okay.
Nice.
I disagree. I don't know. Of course, when it comes to, we didn't really touch on it a lot, but we already touched on it in Brahms, so we know our stance. When it comes to just needless, animal abuse scenes, it just sours the entire thing for me. And I'm glad Walter's okay. I'm glad that they, stuck that through. But using that as a plot device was not necessary to me. It's not well done, so that doesn't have it going for it either. So I wouldn't recommend it, just in general.
Roddy?
Yeah, I'm gonna say like a similar boat where there's like a lot of like the imagery that it shows. I feel like, I don't know, like it wasn't worth kind of feeling the experiences of that, because they were quite heavy to end up to what ended up being the story it tried to tell, and I guess it just didn't gel. And I was actually thinking about it, like I would rather just not watch this film and just watch the TV show I'm Not Okay With This, because I felt like that did a much better job. And again, what choices it made to kind of show the anger and everything like that was just so much more well done. And like it kind of plays on the Carrie a lot, but it does it so much better than this movie.
Sure. And also fuck Netflix for not doing a second season of that show, because that first season was pretty great. You know what, I kind of cautiously recommend this movie. I actually liked this more than I thought I was gonna. I think like I've said, like throughout this episode, I kind of feel like all the Carrie related stuff feels shoehorned in. I just really wish that it didn't. I mean, we wouldn't be talking about it if it didn't, right? But if it didn't have that kind of through line and instead maybe focused on what its original purpose was, which was, high school boys are fucking shit and it's a tough world to be in high school. especially in like the late 90s. I kind of feel like that's the interesting fucking angle on this movie, and when they do address it, they do a pretty good job as far as I'm concerned. It's not a fucking great movie. It has some hokey stuff in it, but I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay. It was a passable watch for me. So yeah, that was our episode on The Rage Carrie 2, directed by Katt Shea. Next week on the show...
What is this? Ah! I'm a cartoon?
Meh. What's up, Doc?
Yay!
Ooh, can't wait.
I've heard so many good things about it.
Me and Laura watched this one last weekend, and oh boy. I mean, look, it's not like there aren't already a million fucking takes on the internet about this one, but holy shit.
It's a journey.
It really is. Until then, you can find us on Twitter at Bad Numbers Pod. We're on Insta, BWM Pod. Email the show, why don't ya, at bwmpod@gmail. We have been Bad with Numbers from Toronto, Canada. Stay safe out there. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Why guidance counselor?
Well, if your job was as meaningless as theirs, wouldn't you go crazy too?
Come to think of it, my guidance counselor was kind of worthless. 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 Counselor was kind of worthless.